Hello. This isn't actually Darren Clarke speaking, he's busy on other elements of this documentary, so in the meantime I'll explain what he's been up to on this current module Sustainable Strategies. In April 2022, he was selected to join Falmouth University's Cultural Immersion Project in Sunway University, Malaysia. This month-long project was an incredible opportunity in terms of self-development and confidence building after several years of difficult personal issues. The program was pertinent to the current master's module as one of the main focus areas was in-depth study into the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and find out how Sunway University is playing its role in advancing these goals. Over the 4 weeks, he gained insight into the languages and uniqueness of communication in Malaysia as well as experiencing both lecture and field-based research into Malaysia's culture and values. Darren also took this as an opportunity for primary research for the current module assignments, but there were issues that needed to be addressed before work began on his photographic project. He was at pains not to produce an archetypal, cliched volume of tourist gaze, and to avoid this, initially entertained the notion of making work that swerved around ethical issues concerning otherness, epistemology and ontology that have caused so much damage to developing countries through careless, selfish photographic decisions. To make optimal use of the time in Malaysia, his initial idea was based upon both temporality and place, documenting places of liminality and emptiness in what is an incredibly vibrant and densely populated location. This idea resonated with him, as one could think of a liminal space as somewhere on the precipice of something new, but not quite there yet, a metaphor for his own personal position at that moment in time. It would also be possible to work during the night, away from his commitments to the cultural project. This narrative was also influenced by the internet gaming legend that is the Backrooms, and the creepypasta genre, where the whole idea of entities haunting games was born. This work was also to be inspired by the 1960s empty New York series of images made by Dwayne Michael, outside his normal oeuvre, but still asking big, sometimes unresolvable questions, elements of which seem even more pertinent now, in the new era of lockdowns and global fear. Darren soon came to realize by the very nature of this project, there was something disingenuous in its conception. Yes, of course it worked aesthetically, but was it really truthful? Did he believe in it? He'd come to Malaysia with very little belief in himself, a Western man in an Eastern country, with his faith in mankind waning, and this was probably another reason for considering a narrative so bleak and lifeless. There was, of course, also a time constraint to consider. A month in Malaysia, in which goals had been set. Panic. This work was already out there, images on Instagram and a working title Maliminal. This project did not, however, represent Darren's true position at that time. It was also paramount to consider his position not only as a photographer, but also as a global traveler and his impact from ethical, ecological and geopolitical viewpoints.
This incredible beach, unspoiled that nobody knew about. But I asked, whatever you do, don't tell people.
We all come to party.
Full moon party.
It's the beach that I had been at with thousands and thousands of people. It was staggering.
After 3-4 days, you start really seeing the complete lack of respect.
And you have to keep that in mind when you travel.
Tourism should have never been allowed to take place the way it did. It was anarchy. Where's all the plastic gonna go? Where's the waste gonna go? Where are people gonna go to the bathroom? What is our environmental footprint? What is our impact on the very cultures that we're visiting?
Through the experiential learning and social interaction that Darren was benefiting from, it soon became apparent that this existing work in progress was not sustainable from either an ecological standpoint or as a standalone idea. This project did not represent Malaysia in any way, shape or form. He was learning way more about this country than one would normally experience as a self-driven tourist. The depth and breadth of subjects covered and the interactions and guidance experienced had given him the confidence to switch the narrative to one of genuine reciprocity rather than the privileged expectation that so often besmirches the integrity of photography. Having come to Malaysia, he was obviously mindful of his substantial carbon footprint caused, in the main, by air travel from Birmingham via Dubai, and an internal flight to Langkawi, amounting to 3.6 tons of CO2. Prior to the trip, Darren had planned within his methodology, the most effective equipment plan, a single fixed 23mm cropped sensor digital Fujifilm X100F, and also ways in which to reduce his footprint in Malaysia. Through research he identified that the city was 100% walkable due to heavy investment in a 4 kilometers elevated canopy walk, so walking everywhere within reason was indeed possible. The canopy walk, which Darren traversed every day on his way to Sunway campus, reminded him of the repetitive nature of Ed Ruscha's 26 gasoline stations, and he used the motivational one-liners that periodically appeared above the walkway as an homage to Ruscha. One could argue that the assignments for this module have substantial ecological integrity, as this work was completely separate and standalone from the cultural immersion projects he was undertaking during the day, as his commitment to the investment shown him by both Falmouth and Sunway universities. Indeed, one could argue further still, that if he had undertaken a project in the UK, this would have incurred its own ecological burden due to potential transport and ancillary costs. Furthermore, this whole month will be used as primary research moving forward into his final major project, as significant inroads have already been made for a return to Sunway University to collaborate with a Sunway professor who specializes in environmental soundscapes, and the goal is to exhibit this work next year. The continuing growth in Darren's belief in the outside world and himself, due to ongoing immersion in Malaysian culture, made him all the more hungry for a photographic practice switching from indexicality to one more verisimilitudinous. In photographs, whence veracity? Michael Shapter explains, human understanding of reality, and beliefs about photography's depiction of reality, is the product of education, cultural influences, ability to discern information, and reactions to the development of ideas over time, along with the mind's sequences of self-writing and filtering of knowledge. There are social experiences that condition particular beliefs, mental function, development, adaptation, and organization that may be in conflict or allied to each other. A different viewpoint on veracity is expressed by Dwayne Michaels in Beyond the Annotated Portrait.
When everybody wants to look nice, so if I showed you a picture of my mother and father, they were married after they were married 50 years, and they're standing. Oh, I can't take me anywhere. Anyway, so they're standing like this, and they've got their arm, and they're smiling. They didn't even like each other. They hadn't in 40 years. They could, but the pictures, standing stairs, it's just.
Darren's current work in progress portfolio consists of an online flip book entitled Excerpts, Malaysia. It is an honest and experiential walkthrough of his time spent there, approached by ethnographic research and curated with pertinent knowledge accrued by his cultural immersion program. These immersive activities inform the narrative, and through developing the narrative in this way, assisted in an enhanced contextualizing of the activities. It is also an exercise in concentrated editing, having made a substantial amount of images during the process, the archive of which will be revisited in future.